If you have ever hugged an action figure after searching for it for like weeks on end, then let me refer you to a psychiatrist, because that is definitely not normal behavior. Nobody should be hugging action figures, okay? It's just not a normal thing to do. But anyways, let's get serious here for a second. I actually wanted to do something that we do pretty consistently on the channel, which essentially we go to AliExpress and we look up any cool knockoff action figures that are being shopped around there. Now, I will say it's getting way more difficult nowadays, because not only do they have just absolute garbage consistently on there, sometimes they'll have like SH Figuarts looking action figures for like $1 a pop. You can clearly tell that they're probably just gonna like ship you an articulated piece of crap. Like, there's no reason to go out of your way to, you know, do research on those type of listings. Not only that, it's also worth mentioning tariffs are starting to again decimate the entire knockoff community. You consistently see them trying to do some shady stuff. Like, sometimes the figure itself will be the same price, but then you check the shipping and it's gone up to like, you know, from free shipping to $20 shipping. So things are getting intense. Things are getting absolutely insane. And so I decided to kind of go on there. One of my last few times, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to talk about AliExpress, because it's just not going to make sense for me to consistently talk about them when knockoff figures are costing more than the original retail price point for a lot of these Marvel Legends action figures. So let's get straight into it. Let's not waste any more saliva. And I should say, as of the moment of this recording, these are all live. AliExpress is one of those websites that is constantly kicking stuff off, putting stuff back on. So just keep that in mind. I always say that, but it's just worth reiterating. AliExpress is just kind of like constantly rotating merchandise, especially when it comes down to action figures. First of all, I did want to showcase this Mess Toys symbiote action figure, which isn't technically a Marvel Legends. I think it's based more on, I guess, closer to like a Revoltech action figure, but I still wanted to show it some love. I've been seeing a ton of reviews, a ton of like unboxings and just, you know, action figure posing videos, and they've done an absolutely phenomenal job. I think if you know, go on there at the moment, you can pick it up for like low 30s, which is a really good price point. As I said, it feels more like an original action figure. They definitely did a ton of stuff. They crafted it with love, and according to a lot of people, this may be like one of the top 10 figures of the year. So definitely keep it in mind if you guys are interested in picking up something that is not only a knockoff, but something that feels somewhat original and something that is, you know, crafted with a ton of care. Moving on, I did run across a number of different Marvel Legends Hulk action figures, and I should say I did run across some of like the same culprits that we consistently see. You know, the retro carded Deadpool is still up there, the retro carded Marvel Legends like symbiote suit, there was the retro carded Spider-Man. There's a ton of ones that we've already seen. There was the Spider-Punk figure, the 2099, so on and so forth. But all of those, I essentially mention them in every single video, so I'm not really going to get into them. But you should be able to still find them for like those low to mid-teens, so like $12 to about $15 with free shipping. At the moment of this recording, as I said, I'm consistently seeing a lot of these listings kick up the shipping prices. But as I mentioned, they did have a number of different Marvel Legends Hulk action figures. They had, for example, the Red Hulk displayed. They did have the gray Outback Hulk. They had the Maestro Hulk, which I'm not sure if it's gone up on the third party, like through eBay. I'm not 100% sure if that figure has gone up in value, but it's still worth checking out if it has. They also have the original knockoff Juggernaut action figure, which I think was originally featured as a Build-A-Figure and then eventually as a 2-pack. That one is readily available and pretty affordable compared to the original retail, or I should say what the original retail one is selling for now. I think last time I checked it, it might have been up to like $80 to $90. That might have changed a little bit here and there. I know a lot of people looked at the Gamerverse and said, you know what, I'm going to skip out on it. It's a little bit too big for my display. Maybe it's just the fact that it's accurate to a video game rather than the comic book. I think maybe that's off-putting to a lot of people, so they prefer the original old school Build-A-Figure Juggernaut over the new one. And so this is another great opportunity. All of these are featured for about like a little bit under $20 to about like high 20s, so it just depends. I also saw what I refer to as the Douchebag Hulk. He's wearing a ripped up shirt. He's wearing some cloth goods shorts, and then he even has some like little douchey glasses going on, but Here's the thing, I did take a closer look at the body mold, and I don't think that's a Marvel Legends body mold. It could be maybe a Marvel Select Hulk or something along those lines. But again, it's a matter of personal perspective or personal opinion here. If you're just looking for something like a cool stand-in in your display, I guess this is a really good option. But I would be very weary when it comes down to that listing because, as I said, the articulation points just aren't there. It might be one of those like really cheap, like Walmart exclusive weird figures that have like no articulation. Maybe they modeled it after that. I'm not 100% sure, but as I said, just be weary, do your investigation and read some reviews. But they do have quite a few figures when it comes down to Marvel Legends knockoffs here. Then they did have a knockoff of that Ellie and Joel 2-pack, which is based on The Last of Us Part 2. This is based on the video game, not the live action show, in case you guys are wondering. But this one originally was released by NECA, and if I'm not mistaken, I think they retailed for $60 or $70. What's crazy is I think if you check eBay, these prices for these figures has just skyrocketed. I'm sure that they're well over $100 at this point. These are retailing for about like $35, $37 with free shipping. So I don't know if you guys want to take a chance on these figures. They look pretty good. I checked the reviews and they also had a decent amount of good, solid, positive reviews. So that just kind of tells me that, you know, they're doing a pretty good job. It's also worth mentioning a lot of these NECA action figures, even if they come directly from NECA, come with a ton of issues. I've heard of NECA figures breaking right out of the box, or, you know, the accessories, or some of the hands not being able to swap out as easily, or just neck joints breaking, things of that nature. So, you know, if you're going to take a chance on NECA at, you know, $100 something at this point, why not try out this knockoff if you're really interested in a Joel and Ellie 2-pack? And if you guys are looking for something a little bit more simplistic, I've been taking a look at some of these like essentially statue figurines because I think they're pretty cool. You know, they're kind of like there to fill in gaps in your display, or if you want just some like little fodder on your desk, or if you want to display these like in front of your Marvel Legends action figures or next to them. These are, you know, great examples of something. They do have like a little 4-pack of tiny little baby Groots. I think you're looking at about like $2 to $3 with free shipping. Not that bad. I think it's worth taking a risk. If they look pretty good, as I said, you can display them next to your Marvel Legends action figures, or just have them kind of hanging around on your desk or in your display, or your little desk where you do your customization, things of that nature. And then they also have this little 4-pack of figurines for Spider-Man. It's just him like in, you know, cool iconic poses. Nothing too crazy, nothing too intricate. They're just really cheap. And, you know, it's kind of like something that you can kind of throw in the background, admire from afar, and you don't really have to pay too much. It's not like a huge risk. You're not spending like $20 to $30 for these collectibles. It's a few bucks. Worst case scenario, you return them or you keep them, you customize them yourself. I just thought that I would throw it out there in case you guys are looking for something on like the lower end of the spectrum. And then lastly, I should say you should definitely check out CT Toys, because as I've said before, the tariffs are definitely going to have an effect on the knockoff market. And every time we see tariffs actually kicking in, or an announcement about tariffs, the manufacturer for these knockoff figures usually spike up the price. So if you're looking at CT Toys as of the moment of this recording, you're looking at like the low end of 20s to like the mid 20s, $25, $26. You're looking at stuff like the original Moffat Spider-Man, which is obviously CT Toys was able to copy it. And then you have their Agent Venom. Both of them have received great reviews as long as you're buying from the actual CT Toys listing. Make sure you do the research. I see a lot of like knockoffs of knockoffs being listed. So just make sure that you're very careful. You're reading through the actual listings, reading through the reviews and things of that nature. Look at people that have already purchased these, and then, you know, be able to acquire the listing directly or the link directly from them. But yeah, it's important to keep an eye on all of these knockoff action figures, because as I said, every time there's like a little wave or a little whiff of tariff talks, it feels like everything just spikes up in value or in prices. I think within the next few days, some of these figures might go up in price. I would dare say that by the time I upload this, some of the figures may have already gone up and you know, maybe they've already added shipping fees and things of that nature to just kind of like compensate for the costs of the tariff. So only time will tell. I don't like talking about tariffs. I don't like polluting the channel with politics, but at the end of the day, it feels like every time that there is something that's happening political wise, it definitely affects the market of, or the action figure market, I should say. But anyways, I just wanted to give you guys a quick heads up. We do this like every few months. We'll go on AliExpress, see if there are any cool knockoff action figures, and then I'll showcase them to you guys. I did have to sift through way more this time around. It was very difficult to kind of compile a list of action figures together for you guys because, as I said, a lot of the listings are either taken down at the moment or the prices have spiked. They're upping the prices for a lot of these figures, so check them out as soon as you possibly can. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Stay safe out there. Make sure to enjoy the hobby. Pose your action figures, play around with them, and you know, stick around because we are uploading action figure content on a daily basis. We love putting this kind of stuff together for you guys. Hopefully you're enjoying it just as much as we are. Stay safe out there. Enjoy the hobby. Pose your figures. Check AliExpress if you're into knockoffs. If not, we can at least admire from afar because some of these are really cool, and sometimes they even have like really amazing accessories that are technically knockoffs, or they're just accessories from overseas that are not available here in the States. So definitely keep your eye on all of that. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.